first of all, I want to say I love you, and I think you're an incredible human. But when I watch your design skills in action, all I was thinking about was, where did she learn it? How did it come to her? Did you did you study? Honestly, were you that way as a kid? Like, what happened?
Was not that way as a kid. It's actually quite humorous because, you always hear people who are designers. They're like, I redid my room. I didn't.
When you were a kid?
No, I never even thought about decorating or, I mean, I had like kitty cat posters everywhere, but that's all I can remember. So for me, when I think back to it, it really started, I started Magnolia in 2003, the year Chip and I got married. And it was really just like a little boutique. I was putting like candles and home decor. And even if you saw the home decor then, it's like hilarious. Yeah. But people would come in the shop and say, can you help decorate my home? And I would go into their homes, Hoda, and you want to talk about like truly no idea what I was doing and completely faking it. I would step in and I remember just clenching my legs. Like, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And I'm more introverted. So that whole experience was me saying, dear God, give me something, like literally praying, God, I need something because I have no idea. And I would just start saying things. And half the time I'm like, this is not right. But what I realized in that practice of saying, yes, I'll come to your house. I'll help you. They were super patient and they acted like they liked it. But that idea of saying yes and the practice is what finally, years later, got me to hone in on, you got to go deeper. Design isn't about something looking pretty. So
what is it about?
It's about the feeling. And so literally the first month I would do this, I would say, well, what do you want it to feel like? Because I didn't know how to help them.
Good.
I didn't know how to help them. If they said, I want this style, I'd have to like research what that style even was.
So what do you want it to feel like?
So what do you want it to feel like? And so that's what I always based my designs on. And even now, even what I know about design, that doesn't help me when I go into a space. What really helps is, what do you want it to feel like? What is the space needing to be? And when you couple that, you can really create something meaningful.
So you had that essence. You knew how to connect with people. But there are people in the design business, as in any business, that went to all the schools and did all the things and have all the credentials and all of that stuff. Did you ever feel like, oh God, like what am I even doing in this group?
I would say, of course, especially when, you get a call from a production company. Yeah. I had a friend that like sneakily put photos of our house up. I was doing it for my little blog, like a before and after of our house. Yeah. She submitted it to this famous like blogger, and a production company saw it and they called and said, hey, would you and your husband be interested in doing like a show for a network? No idea who it was.
Wait, what?
We didn't have a TV. Okay. So even hearing, on TV, we were like, what does that even mean? Like where? And so that's kind of how it all started. And when the cameras came on, I remember the first season, Hoda, Chip and I really were like, oh, maybe Waco will see the show. Maybe our parents will see. We never thought like it'd be a national thing. Like literally thought it'd be in like a little pocket. Yeah. And then once it picked up, so the first season, I wasn't thinking like, oh, the second season when I realized it had gotten traction and people had noticed it, I would have this phobia of like, oh, I'm going to get judged. I bet I don't have the right size rug, because I envied the idea that I didn't know the rules of design.
So you just did your thing.
I did my thing, but then I started feeling like, oh no, the truth is going to come out.
Well, let's talk about that thing, because what you're talking about too is something I had, you have. So I still have it. And so many women who are wildly successful have it, and it's called imposter syndrome. It's like you don't know if you belong, although you're there. It's like Jacinda Ardern, who's the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, said while she was there, she had imposter syndrome. Gosh. Melinda Gates, Audra McDonald. The list goes on and on and on and on. It's like you don't feel crazy. Like you belong. Was there a point where you're like, okay?
I think the point was Chip saying, I don't want to hear this anymore.
Is that what he said?
He was like, Jo, you are incredible. And so when you keep saying that, it's actually off-putting, that because then you're it's almost
putting
like
yourself down.
The confidence, Jo, that you have to rise up for this moment. When you have that, it was almost like this false humility. I don't know what it was, but it became this like crutch. Well, just in case, I'll say, I don't know. I don't know. And I feel like there's that apologetic thing in us, so I'll say it still creeps up.
Same
like you
with me.
said, it still creeps
Yeah.
up. But I do feel like there is something about learning it this way.
Mm-hmm.
I do love like the idea of I could have gone to school, the knowledge. I have a lot of the girls on my team went to school for design. And so I love that they have the knowledge of that.
Right.
So how do you do the knowledge and the feeling and then create that? So, but it's something that's always in us. But
always in
also
there.
you got to immediately when you feel it, step up above it and say, no, this isn't about that. It really isn't. When I'm creating a space, it isn't for someone to notice it and say, oh, she's doing better, or she deserves that, or she knows what she's doing. It's really, that's not why I do this. And so then
Once
it's like,
you know
who cares?
that, who cares? So you talk about Chip helping build
He's
your
my
company.
life coach.
He's your life coach.
He really is.
But from the beginning, okay, let's take Chip out of the equation.
Golly.
There's Joanna.
Yeah, I'll tell you
and
where I'd
Joanna is going to go on her path.
Yes.
Where would you wind up?
I would be in a cubicle with those, I've always loved the cubicles that have like the push pin things and you can do your little life in the cubicle.
Yeah.
And I would be a bookkeeper. I
would
wouldn't be an
not.
accountant because I wouldn't have made it in school for that. I would have been a bookkeeper for a business who just needed someone to like plug in numbers.
Are you being
I really
100% serious?
I love crunching numbers.
You do?
And I always tell Chip, sometimes my dream job is just to be in a cubicle and just like, I used to, because I did it for my dad for 10 years. At his tire shop. I crunched his numbers. I did all his bookkeeping. I was really good at it. But it was that, or it was broadcast journalism.
Because you were in local news.
Went to school for broadcast journalism, and my first internship here in New York, the first day I was like, maybe I don't want to do broadcast journalism. As a fifth-year senior, I had studied it for 5 years.
And what hit you? What was it that landed that way?
The idea that you had to find beautiful people who did awful things was kind of what you hear. Like, that's what the public wants to see. And I was like, maybe like right off the bat. And this is not everybody.
No, but I understand.
It really isn't. But news is, we get it. Like, oh, you got to have that thing, that hook. And I think I was just inundated with stories, and I was like, "Oh wait, this isn't maybe for me. I
make
won't.
You feel good.
I won't carry it well. I think other people can carry it well. I don't. I think I feel too much. Where it was just like I couldn't turn it off."
And it's also interesting because you called yourself an introvert in some ways.
Yes.
That you would have studied that for those years because that was about to send you.
Well, that's fascinating to me because when I think about the broadcast journalism, the first thing I think of is a teleprompter.
Yeah.
If I always, my biggest nightmare would be if the teleprompter stopped working, I wouldn't say a word. I'd be like, and then I already had like this idea of like I'd fall out, pretend like I fainted. And that was interesting to me because I don't feel like at the time I was such a quiet person and I was okay with people telling me what to say. And then I would just put on the act or the show. And again, that's not broadcast journalism. For me, that's how I saw it. I will show up at a desk and read it and do my job. Where one thing I loved, anytime we'd come see y'all, it was this, there's just so much more than that.
So much more.
But in my mind, it was, I'll sit, I'll look polished, I'll say the right thing, and that's my job. And I think there's something to that about something I was going through or something I was trying to prove. And now I look back and like that would have been for I can tend to be more robotic sometimes. That's where my coach Chip was like, Joe, stop. That I can go through the motions and then say I'm done and move on. And I think it's fascinating as I think I was highly insecure at that moment in my life as a college girl, that to me security felt like you tell me what to say, do my hair and makeup, and I'll do it and I'll nail it. And I'm like, there was something deeper.
What about the perfection piece of life, which is just like what you were saying? I want to be done.
Yep.
I want to feel this. I want to be polished. I want to read it right. I want it to be perfect. And how does that carry through? Because that's something that's tricky to live with. And I don't know if you have that. Do you have perfectionism now?
I do. Yeah. It's a thing that, Chip and I, we love to connect in the morning about coffee, and we'll always talk about these like things. And I'm like, even though I feel like I can jump over that, it's always in me. Just like you said, some of these thoughts, you're like, okay, it's still there, but it's learning how to not stay there too long. I wonder sometimes about this perfectionistic mindset. You know, did that develop early on when I felt like I had to be something other than myself? Yeah. To appear in a way where I was accepted because I didn't feel like who I was good enough. So then, you know, I remember at 6 years old, I just remember that shift of going, I've got to be somebody else.
At 6?
It's just, you know, and I feel like we all go through this in some way, shape, or form. But, you know, with the kids, I was half Korean. Yeah. We were in a small little town in Kansas, and I was the only one that looked different. Yeah. And I heard about it every day at the lunch table. So in those moments, that shift in my mind was, you have to be something else.
Right.
And I think that little seed started that idea of, okay, this isn't good enough, so now do this.
That's really...
But the way I use it for good...
Yeah, tell me.
You know, and when I think about my life, even as like a college student and my body and my everything, like, you know, we're always trying to perfect something. And I remember in college, I struggled with that, with just like eating and issues with that. Like I couldn't control life, so I could control this, you know, and you hear those stories.
Sure.
But for me now, it's like, I like to use that on a project, like on a home. Not that I'm trying to create a perfect home, but okay, I can see what this can be.
Yes.
And it's not perfect, but I can see how to refine it, how to make it excellent. And then I'm going to build towards that. So I use that energy for the work I do, but I don't do it to myself. Like I can see that, I mean, I can't, because it's just...
How did you... because our kids pick up our habits, even if we're teaching them another habit, because I do that with my kids. I think I'm teaching them one thing, but I'm showing them another.
100%, yes.
How did you navigate with raising your children, not so they didn't pick up that, oh, is that just so, put that up, you know, or whatever those things might be.
That was like an early moment for me when my kids were little, when I remember designing this house that we were all living in, and it was this historic house in this beautiful neighborhood, and I remember the local magazine was like, when you're done, we'd love to feature it. This is before the show. And I remember in my mind, I was like, oh, my house can be in a magazine. And so I designed it for the shoot. Didn't even think. I was like, I'm going to make it so. They do the shoot. And then a couple weeks go by, and it was this weird moment where it was like an out-of-body experience where I stepped into the living room and I saw all 4 of my kids, and I could tell they didn't know how to interact with the space. They didn't know how to be home. Right. And that switched for me, and it's never been the same. Which is like, I will never design again for a shoot or for the end, I have to do this for my family. And that's where everything started clicking for me as a designer, that there's got to be intention. There's got to be this practical sense, but it can also be beautiful. But I never wanted my kids to feel like this house is not down to earth. Right.
You can't live in it. No, how do we live in it?
I've just always wanted them to feel comfortable.
How about your kids and their own behaviors? You know, like here's, I mean, this is a silly one, but you know, I always tell my kids, phones are terrible. Nobody needs them. They're a waste. And I'm like this. Okay. Just what? 5 minutes. Just but what am I doing?
So
what am I saying?
Yes.
So like modeling the behavior and trying to and I do want to ask you about phones too, because I think you have an interesting perspective.
I mean, I love being honest with my kids when I screw up.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Because I feel like in the past, the way I would have parented was, oh, I messed up. How do I, where now it's like, man, I feel like the more I apologize and the more I'm like, I'm saying one thing, but maybe I'm not showing you this.
So you say it.
I will say it and put it out there.
That's good.
Where I think the old me would have just put it under the rug and maybe they didn't notice. Yeah. I think for me, I've just learned to also explain a lot of my work is on the phone, like a lot of the emails. And so how do I, when I come home from work, I'm always like, okay, I'll just leave it in the car. How do I?
Yes. Detach.
But it is a discipline. I mean, because work is this in so many ways. But I apologize more often than not now, because I feel like I screw up a lot for sure.
What's your rule with kids and phones? Because this is such a hot topic. I mean, we're trying to do a wait till 8th grade. Some people want to go beyond that. Like, what's your general rule?
And it's funny because I always say this, but then I say it with, I never want to project like a judgment on anybody. You know what I mean? I feel like we all do it in such unique ways. Yes. That's right for our family and for our kids. we like to make up weird little rules, So with phones, it was when they turned 13, and we disabled this. The web, the World Wide Web. So they have a phone, they can contact us, but they can't get on the internet.
Okay, so it's just to dial in and out.
And to text, and they can do games for a certain, and I'm so, I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm going to hear it from the people. But to me, Chip and I always think about, man, when we were little, when we were 12, if we would have access to the internet.
Oh, God. Would have been crazy.
And so why do we think their brains are ready for any search, any accidental whatever? Right. Where we have this home computer at home, it's facing out, you need to get on it, there it is, let us know, what do you need? But on their phones, there's no sitting and scrolling for hours or searching, because we all know sometimes where that leads.
Right. It's like...
So... you can get a phone when you're 13, and so social media and the internet, not until you're 18. I'm so
not
sorry,
until you're 18?
kids, 18.
Girl, do you think, is anybody sneaking? Is there like a ghost account? Did they do anything sneaky? No.
No. Not that, and people say, oh, they're sneaky. No, I mean, no. I'm like, what I love is like when I come home, my kids, if they're like, can I see what's going on? I'll let them get on mine. So it's
take
like
a
that.
Look. Okay.
I would like to say they're not sneaky. I mean, my kid, we're pretty we're pretty open. So I feel like for us, we explain the why. Yeah. I get your friends are not. I get that everyone's got accounts, and that's actually how you connect. And in high school, that's how you do it. You're just, and my kids kind of turned it, and they're like, they feel like they feel good that they don't need it, I guess. They're like, there's nothing like, like my son said, you know what I'm scared of when I'm 18 to get it, as I see all my friends and we're out and they're all down their phones going like this. This is the thing. He's like, I don't even know if I want it when I'm 18 because I don't want to turn into that. And it's true. I mean, you see the kids these days. That's how they're together. But they're all doing their own thing. They're showing each other, which, in some ways that can be fun, like to show funny videos.
But there's a point.
But it's robbing a social skill.
But wait, the fact, just to put a fine point on what you just said, your kid says when he's 18, he may not want it.
He may not.
That is... That's profound and big.
And so I'm like, and my kids are all, they like to be unique in their own way. And maybe it's the way, I have no idea. But I feel like for us, social media, I think about all the things that we as adults feel as a 47 that I can tend to feel when I get off of it.
Yes.
How do you pull that together as a 13, 14, 15-year-old? And I think some kids can do it great. I'm not trying to project anything.
But it's difficult.
But in our family, we say we live on a farm. Yeah. We have this beautiful life. Get outside. If you even have an inkling to be bored, then you're not doing something right.
What do you say when they say I'm bored, Mom?
You're not allowed to say you're bored.
Yeah.
And boredom is probably a very healthy thing to actually sit in it and be okay with doing nothing. Yeah. But if you're bored and you want to go do something like mindless, and again, mindlessness isn't bad, but we always say go outside. There's no sense of being this place.
Yeah, go outside,
look at
do
your life.
something.
You're not bored.
So I was telling you about Jacinda Ardern, who's the former Prime Minister of New Zealand, and she was talking about how people were asking her when she was in power, they were saying, can you be a mother? Because she was just found out she was pregnant right when she was Prime Minister. It was like, surprise. Can you be a mother and an effective Prime Minister at the same time, a job that's all consuming? And she said, and she came back to work after 6 weeks, although she was the one advocating for 6 months for maternity. But she said, for others, yes. She goes, for me, for this particular job, I want to come back early. Now, the question that a lot of women, all of us have is, can I be a great mother and a great worker? Or to be truly great at something, do you need to have the scales tipped?
Wow.
Like, how are you going to, like Simone Biles because she focused on the thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you thought about, because you have done, obviously, incredibly well at both things. How did that even work?
I think women are fascinating in that we can carry a lot.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who, since she's been married, she's stayed home. She had babies early. Mm-hmm. She's been a stay-at-home mom for 12 years, and she's going to get a job. She's like so nervous. She's like, only thing I can write on my resume is I am a stay, and I'm like, I would hire a stay-at-home mom in a heartbeat. You're a problem solver. You're a peacemaker. You can multitask. Like, I'm like, you're the most valuable person. I would hire you in a second. So I sent her to our HR. I was like, hire her. I want her. And I think as women, we have this ability to multitask. We have this ability to, I try not to do the whole, like, I leave home and then shut off and then I go to work, because it's all in me. It's like a braid.
Yes,
I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a founder. So all those things are in me at all times. And I just think for me and the life that I have, I feel like I have this gift of, I feel like I can carry a lot. I always tell Chip, I feel like my arms are strong for these tasks. I feel like I'm built for this. I do tell my kids, I ask them all the time, do you want me to be a full-time stay-at-home mom?
You ask them?
All the time, because I'm always insecure. Like, am I gonna need counseling? And, and I ask my girls, do you want to be, what do you see with this life? Because and again, when they were younger, I tried to be more present, but now that they're all in school, it's like I have that moment while they're at school to go tackle all the work. Things, so it's that balance. But what my girls have said is you've shown us that we can do more than one thing.
Wow, that's big.
And that's what I just want to show my girls, that if your passion is to stay at home with your children, go in,
do it.
All in. That's actually the best gift in the world. That's the best job.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to try to do a job, a company, and your children, I believe they can, because we're strong. We're women. We can do this. I don't know. And I also know, my brain, I get inspired when I'm at the office. I get inspired for something I'm going to cook at home for the meal for my kids. Okay, so I actually have a new energy when I'm with them, where for me, when I'm home all day, I think I need, maybe the diversity in my life to feel inspired for work. I have to be grounded at home. And to be, so it works for my life. It works for your life, the way that you're shaping this for yourself. I feel like being, self-employed, it comes with a lot of weight, but it also comes with the privilege of getting to kind of dictate what is priority versus just showing up every day, and you can't work around that. So there's a give and take there. We have a lot of weight. We have sleepless nights. But we also can carve out our schedule in a way that makes it work better for us as mothers.
What do you do? And I felt this at work when I was working at the Today Show and other places too, where you're just buried and you are exhausted and you are like, you're making it, like you're making it, and we're doing it, but you want everything just to stop. And those are, hard decisions to know whether you should jump or whether you should take a break or whether you should, if you even can, or how do you do it? So did you have a moment where you were like up to your neck and saying, it's time to hit the brakes?
It was last year, exactly this time. And, Chip and I have been doing this for almost 25 years now, just Magnolia, building Magnolia, and all that, I say Magnolia, all that she's become. It's been a lot of exciting, hard work. I always, in the morning, when I think about like soul, I was thinking about this because you are so full of joy. And someone asked me the other day, what makes you happy? And I feel like happy is like a luxury. Happy is like a mood. It's like, I feel happy today, or these flowers make me happy. But that's like, it feels like it's up here. When I think of joy, though, I think it's something we carry. And that comes more from soul. And for me, one practice I've had for a very long time, I think I started this in high school, was this idea of tapping deeper beyond the heart, but in the soul. And so I'm saying all this because as I've gotten older, I try to do this like radar check on myself. Like, is my soul feeling tired?
Oh, that's
Is
good.
my soul feeling weary? And I've never let it get to that point until last year, where I was just exhausted. And for me, normally the high level question is, if you feel tired, what do? I go ground myself in good things. I get my hands busy, whether that's in dough and I'm making something for my family. I'm in the garden and I'm working in the dirt. I'm doing flower. Like, that grounds me. And
feels good.
That creative work, that output, then I get this creative input. So I feel like it's a nice little balance.
I like that.
But the soul thing is different. And I feel like we get to a place in our life where we didn't tend to our soul, and then we just feel weary. And that's a harder thing to recover from. That's not a weak or a weekend away.
Yeah.
And then your soul's recovered.
Yeah.
And I realized last year, I'm feeling weary. My soul is feeling tired. And so Chip just said, okay, we're calling it. We're putting the brakes on.
Wow.
We're not going to work for 3 months. I freaked out because I was like, what is our team? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so we took 3 months off, our first time in 25 years to take time away from them. We stepped away, we stayed home, and it took every bit of that. We met with people. We did, like, I call it like soul care.
Tell me. That's so interesting.
I would, they would say, go find things where you're just lingering and you're quiet. Ooh. That's where I got into like pressing flowers, and I was just by myself, and I would just do mindless work.
Wow.
But it would fill my tank. And that 3 months, whether it was with my kids, if I was with Chip, we were traveling, or I was just by myself, it filled my tank. So there's that caution I have in my spirit of, how's your soul? Is your soul? I don't want to get to that point again. And so my daily discipline is that soul care, waking up, journaling. How we doing? Yes. It's really a me and God thing. I will write everything down, every insecurity, every fear. And then what I love is he'll come back with every truth on top of those. And that's what sets me up every day. So for me, it's like when I think about our souls, they're deep wells, and we can't forget about them. And so I don't remember your question, Hoda, but my answer is like soul care is so important. And so for every one of us, it's different. For me, it truly is grounding myself in who I am in God, and that's the strength that I have. It's nothing surface. It's really this like deep internal knowing of who I am and why I'm here that gets me going every day.
That is so beautiful and deep.
Thank you.
And the other part too is you were talking about those 3 months, and to spend whenever you take time, whoever, if you could take a day off, let's say, or even an afternoon off, it's like, what do you do with that precious time? Because you could have taken 3 months and watched Netflix and hung out and been like, I just didn't need to work. But after a while, that isn't what you, like, that's not filling any tank at all. But I like that there was intention in the 3 months. It was like, we have a little mini plan.
Yeah.
We're going to do something that's going to fill us, as opposed to just stop down. Because that's sometimes I find myself thinking I'm getting recharged when I take a week off or something, but I'm not.
No, it's like your soul really didn't get any rest.
Yeah.
And again, that's what I think we have to tap into more. I think we think of like heart and mind. We kind of think of between here and here, and it feels quick, and we can feel that fast. This is the harder work from here to here, and I don't even know if my soul, but I feel my soul's in my gut. Where is my soul? I don't know, but I feel it right here. But I got off social media for 3 months. I had someone else doing my account. It was like anything that kind of robs me from what's right in front of me, I pushed away, and just said, I want to learn something new. I want to do something creative. I want to, do things with the kids and just sit. Just sit. Watch them.
How was it coming back after those 3 months? What did that feel like?
I was ready. Yeah. And this all started because a lot of our team was saying, Chip and Jo, what's next? Oh. And, this was last year, and in our minds we're like, what do you mean what's next? We feel as though the silos are and what we realized for our team, even if what's next is nothing, they needed vision. Know that. Yeah. And for me, I was just so tired. We'd been building this thing for 20 plus years. And so when I heard what's next, I'd just kind of be like a little bit like, don't worry about it. What's next has never been something I've planned. It's come like intuitively. And I love that kind of pure way that vision has come to us for our business, and not that I've strived for it. But then I started realizing, man, if someone was really wanting to know what's next, I can't see. And it's the first time I couldn't see in the future because I was so tired. I couldn't see. I had no vision. And so it was 3 months of not necessarily trying to find vision, because that felt too hard. I was like, I'm not taking off to find vision, or I won't get rest. But I wanted to remember why we're doing this. And so that 3 months was a lot of soul searching. Why did you start? Why did you say yes to this? And this is like getting back to the intention, getting back to the foundation. And it was a beautiful practice for me. My oldest daughter, Ella, who's now 18, she she happened to be in a lot of the meetings where she could tell I was getting tired because she was interning with me, and she could see it. And so she wanted to kind of go on this journey with me. One of my favorite moments was in the summer. I said, let's have a lock-in. Let's have a lock-in at the office, just me and you. And you are going to be my whiteboard, like, right, because she loves to write and like be the... So I had 2 whiteboards in my office. We brought our stuff. We spent the night. And I was literally like, okay, I want to understand, what am I holding? What is our business? And so she would write all the thing. Okay, now why am I doing this? She'd take notes. And so for 2 days we were in my office stuck. I really told God, and I don't give God mandates. I really have learned you don't do that. But God, I remember there's like maybe 3 very specific visions he's given me in my life about Magnolia. One was opening it. One was shutting it down for a season when my kids were 4 and under and I needed to be home. And then one was the silos, when he said, this is the place. I was driving by it. I felt like he said, turn around, go look at it. And I said, no, I got to get to the office. I finally said, well, you don't really tell God no. So I turned around, I stood there and I was like, and I saw it. I saw the shop, I saw the bakery, I saw the turf, I saw people walking, I saw life. And I heard him say, you need to bring this thing back to life. So I felt like I had 3 very key moments in our business where I felt his presence and his direction. And I hadn't felt anything from, that was like 20, maybe 12. I was like, God, maybe it's time for something, you know? And I didn't get a clear vision, but I got a clear meaning. I like this whole thing of Magnolia, as Elle and I were in there, I got this like whole kind of drop down, I felt like from heaven, which is what we do at Magnolia is we make space for meaningful moments in people's lives and in their homes. And that became my filter. I needed a filter because there were so many things we could do. And
but that's clear.
And I had clarity on, wait, we get to not just create meaningful moments, we can create space, because that's the part is if you don't make space and you don't have that intention, life happens. So is it making space at the table? Is it making space for a moment of, you know, so for me in that moment, we wrote it down. I left with that clarity. That's all I needed is I'm doing something special. I'm doing good work. Chip and I are doing good work together. And then all of a sudden you start getting vision. And now I can't put it back in a box. Now I'm like, oh shoot. Now my team's probably regretting it, because when I stepped back, you had asked, when I came back,
you were on fire.
Journals of like, what if we do this? What if we, and that's it. It's just like when you can ground yourself in why you do the work you do, everything that comes from it, which is what I sense from you in this new season that you're in, is like, you can't contain it. No. There's not containing vision. It's, I'm sorry, this may be overwhelming.
It may be a lot for everybody, but it's coming out.
And that is like, that's like the best thing.
First of all, I love that you had such a clear message from God. And I wanted this myself sometimes. How do you know if it's a big part of you saying, I can see it, or how can you tell for yourself if it's God or if it's the deep knowing within you?
I typically know myself and my thoughts. They're typically negative. Not super motivating. So anytime it's like that, I'm like, well, that's definitely not JoJo. I mean, you know, I'm not like you where just joy wells out of my being. So anytime it's peace, it's more that peace.
That's interesting.
Where I just have a peace. It's like this crazy peace that I can't explain. I just feel like that's... And what I love about God is I feel like God was like, Joe, really what he kind of told me is because of that perfectionistic mindset, God, I'm not going until I hear it. And what I heard him say that summer was, no matter where you go, I'm with you. So it didn't mean there's a right answer, or that God's going to say, do this like he did with Moses. Instead, he said, if you trust me, I'm with you. So it felt like a grown-up moment with me and God where he was like, where do you want to go? Let's go. Instead of, this is exactly what you know, that's maybe as I was young, I always thought that's how God worked, was like, you have to do it or you're in trouble, like that. And I felt like God is just in that, just in his kindness was like, what do you want to do? I'm with you. Don't fear. I'm with you. We got this. And that dropped the weight of having to have a specific vision. It's like, let's go, God, let's go. What are we going to do? It's me, you, and Chip, the kids. Like, let's go. And I feel like that feels different than I have to know what's next, and then I'm going to go there. This feels a little more free.
I love it. I feel like you have so many beautiful relationships in your life that you nurture. I mean, obviously, your kids, Chip, your business, your friendships, all the other things. The relationship with Chip, how because everything takes time to, you got to keep putting stuff in the bank. 100%. Given the way that everything is kooky, how, where is he on the list of, and how do you keep that tank full for him?
Chip and I were, from the beginning, we've just only known to work together. Yeah. That's what we've only, and we drive together. We're kind of, in the mornings, he always wakes up before me and I can smell the coffee and I don't want to get up, but I know he wants to connect. Yeah. I mean, he's so good at that. Yeah. I'm like, so in the mornings we'll connect, get the kids ready. We drive to work together. We try to be together. Yeah. But I feel like for me, I kind of know I'm my best with him. Even though I am quiet and at times to talk to someone back and forth, sometimes for me to process actually it means there needs to be silence. And Chip is a talker. But what I realize all he's doing is he's trying to just pull it out of me and let me process. And it's a safe place to process. But for me, I always like to process and then talk. And so he also values when I get alone time and then I get back, he's like, something feels different. What happened? And I'm like, I got alone with God and I grounded myself. Yeah. So, but I feel my best with him. I feel like when I'm apart from, he's just like that positive. He's like the angel on your shoulder here. Me in my head, a lot of the times, I don't know how to make it go away. Yeah. But I do have more negative self-talk. I always have. And I prayed it away for years and it just doesn't go away. Yeah. So instead it's like, okay, so let it come out, let it say the thing, and then you just speak truth over it.
Oh, that's good.
Joe, you're getting older. You feel okay, but what am I? So
that's
now
good.
It's the practice of talking louder than it, because I can't get it to go away. But what can I say? What's the truth? Like, what do I, and then the more you do that practice, the less you hear it. And so,
that's good.
But to be with Chip, he's like constant positive talk. So just, I get there quicker with him.
I need you right now.
He's like, you look great. You are amazing. So, it's definitely easier when I'm with him.
Oh God, you found the right one. You guys both found the right. You all just are crushing it.
And right now he's like in the city. He wants to play the Amazing Race with he and crew.
Oh my gosh.
So he's like, I won't drive in a car. I'm not going to, we're going to just go wherever crew wants to go. And 100% Hoda, he will be lost.
Of course he will.
He left it. They both have backpacks, into the world stuff they need, and he's like, "We're gonna see if we can make it." I hope to see you at the end of the day, babe.
I love it. First of all, you're so amazing.
Thank you.
So this podcast is called Making Space. So when you do have a clear day that doesn't fill you with, there's nothing on your calendar, you're like, guess what? Yes. It's only you. How would you fill the day? When would you wake up? How would you fill it?
I love this question. I've carved out every Tuesday, Thursday, during like the year, so summers, I typically try to say no office days. I work from home. So the kids are home, but during the school year, Tuesday, Thursdays, I stay home. And those are my days. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I work my butt off. Yeah. I go in early and I leave late, but Tuesday and Thursday are like my fill up days. Those are my favorite. I try to plan nothing. And I go in the garden. And it's kind of like I'm doing what Chip does right now in the city. I let things lead me. Yeah. I'll make a recipe or two. Crew is home on those days. We'll play in the garden. I'll do flower arrangements. I'll make a big meal for the kids when they get home. I stay home. Home grounds me. So for me, it's not travel. It's like anything at home. What curiosities am I tapping into at home? So those Tuesday, Thursdays, those home days are truly what refuel me for the work that I do, but they're my favorite. I turn on I'll turn on jazz music. Love it. Or lately I've gotten into symphony, music with no words.
Look at you.
And it's just creative because these geniuses that built that. It's just flowing
through you.
So those are my favorite days, just being creative, because I feel like the work I do at the office is output. Yeah. With the magazine, the show, I have to give that output. With design at home, it's like, what am I
input?
What am I putting back in?
Bring it in. I love you.
I love you too, Hoda.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.